Wee Tom. In Russia, where Natalia is, they call him Malchik Spalchik. Where Kira and Georgia were recently, they called him Tom Puss. Where Terry Lott is in Ohio, they call him Tom Thumb. But in my stories, we call him Wee Tom, and he is wee, but he's not any of these things. He's not a midget, a dwarf, a fairy, a goblin, an elf. He's not a sprite. He's not a superhero that pulls his underpants over his trousers, or as they say in Ohio, Terry, his pants over his underpants and goes flying through the air. And he doesn't do that because he can't, because he's just an ordinary person who happens to be very small. And in every wee Tom story that you get, you'll get Uncle Dan. Now, Uncle Dan is far from small. He's so big that in my books, you can't see all of them. You only see his shoulder or his hand holding wee Tom like this. You don't see his face. You can sometimes see his feet. And this story is called Wee Tom and the New Bed. And the guys were going to the seaside for their holiday. And this vacation, I have to be bilingual here because Terry doesn't really speak English in her country. They kind of make it all up with words like vacation and sidewalk and all these kind of things. Anyway, they were going on their holidays to the seaside. And when they were on the train, they decided to play at Farmyard Bingo. Wee Tom stood on the table of the train and looked out of the window. And as he was looking out of the window, he had a pen and a piece of paper, and he would write down when his uncle shouted them, sheep, he would make a little cross. Cows, he would make another little cross. Chickens, anytime they were passing farms, they would do this. And not just with animals. They did it with tractors. They did it with they did it with wild animals as well, like deer and a fox. And do you know that they've been doing this game for years, and foxes are so fly and so shy that you don't see them. And they've never, ever, ever managed to cross off a fox. Anyway, while they were playing the game, Uncle Dan was thinking about other things. And he said to wee Tom, dear boy, I haven't packed your bed. Tiny little boy needs a small bed. But that's okay. They went about their business. And wee Tom said, Uncle Dan, I still want to play this game. I've got my pen and I'm looking for geese. I'm looking for a goat and I'm looking for a farmer or a farmer's wife or a farmer or a farmer's husband. That's what we're looking for. And we're all gender non-specific nowadays, Terry. And there, yet another cross. And the crosses came. And as I say, they never ever found the fox, but they were very happy to have this. And anytime there was a straight line, a diagonal line, or a vertical line, so I'll show you vertical, I'll show you horizontal, and I'll show you diagonal. Anytime there was such a line, Uncle Dan gave wee Tom a sweetie, or as Terry has to know, a candy. And as that was happening, they just had this marvelous time eating and laughing and playing the game. And the journey passed very, 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 very quickly. In no time at all, the journey was all but over. And that was that. And then, as they came into the railway station at the seaside place, Uncle Dan put wee Tom in his pocket here, in his chest pocket like this. And wee Tom looked out and he could see everything. And as he was looking out and watching stuff, then he said, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to think of something I can do and use to have for my bed. And Uncle Dan said, there'll be something at the house. We've rented a house. There'll be something there that we can use. And the first thing that they saw when they were in the house, they were bringing in the bags and the luggage and all this stuff, bringing all these things in. And then there was other things that were still luggage, but not bags, like buckets and spades and things for the beach and all that kind of stuff, fishing nets. Uncle Dan said, I think we should have some cereal, some breakfast cereal. And he got out this big extra value super economy pack of breakfast cereal. And he put it on the table, and then he lifted in the container, the poke inside it, and lifted this out. And they made the most delicious crunching noise. And we Tom said, ah, that makes me hungry. Uncle Dan said, I'm going to have a full bowl. I'll give you 1 egg cup full. And wee Tom got an egg cup filled to the brim, up to the very top, with cornflakes. And Uncle Dan had a big, big bowl, and they had milk, and they ate away, munching like this and crunching. And Uncle Dan looked at the box sideways. Mm. He looked at the box up and down. He looked at the box and said, this container, this package is going to be the ideal thing for me to have with you, to share this. That's what we're going to do. So Uncle Dan didn't put the cornflakes back in the packet, but he put his nephew in the packet and lifted him up and put him right inside. And he said to wee Tom, well, what do you think of that? And wee Tom said, I don't like it in here. Uncle Dan, it's too dark in here. Uncle Dan, it's gloomy in here. Uncle Dan, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Uncle Dan, I can't breathe. And there was so much dust and powder and stewy things. It was horrible in there. What an atmosphere of all these crumbs. And oh, he said, it's terrible. And Uncle Dan looked in, and the little boy, who's normally got very strong, straight legs like this, his legs were bent, and he was slightly frightened, and he was holding on to his clothes. He said, Uncle Dan, I don't like it here. Please, please get me out. Please get me out. Uncle Dan loves wee Tom, and very gently opened it up and tipped the little boy, and the boy slid right down the packet. And when he came out, he was orange, as orange could be. The dust and powder had covered him completely. He always wears red things, which is why I always wear something red when I'm telling wee Tom stories. He was absolutely covered in this orange powder, and he said, I can't take this. Uncle Dan said, it's okay, don't worry about it. I'll get the vacuum cleaner and it'll hoover. We'll hoover up and we'll suck up all this dust and powder. We'll get very, 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 very sharp scissors and we'll trim the box. I said, Uncle Dan, I'm sickened of that box. I don't want to go near it. That box is a perfect box for cornflakes, not for me. And no thank you. And no thank you. And no thank you. So they were settled in the house. Everything was okay. They were quite clear and quite happy about how it was all going. When then Uncle Dan said, well, do you know what we need to do now? We need to figure out what we're going to do next. We need to get sorted from the point of view of what happens next. Where are you going to sleep tonight? There's your own room in there where I would have put your own small bed. Well, there's a big bed in there. And wee Tom was in this bed that night. And it was enormous. It was wide. It was long. It was high. And it was so soft and spongy that when he was walking, he said, I'm almost seasick in here. It's like an ocean of mattress. Oh, Uncle Dan, I can't bear this place. I can't bear it. I can't bear it. I can't bear it. Well, sleep here tonight and we'll see what happens in the morning. Uncle Dan heard wee Tom about 3 o'clock in the morning. Wee Tom was calling, Uncle Dan, help me, help me. Uncle Dan, save me, save me. Uncle Dan, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Uncle Dan, help me, help me. Uncle Dan, save me, save me. Uncle Dan, it's 3 o'clock in the... he went on repeating this and repeating it until Uncle Dan came in to see him to find out what was wrong. And wee Tom said, Uncle Dan, I need to go to the bathroom. I need to go to the restroom because I need to just go. This bed is far too long. It's far too wide. It's far too high. And it's far too spongy. I'm seasick walking here. Please let me go to the toilet and then, well, we'll talk about it in the morning. Uncle Dan took wee Tom into the bathroom, helped him, washed his hands, and back to bed. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Uncle Dan went to wake wee Tom up, and he was fast asleep. He was sleeping very comfortable in this uncomfortable space that was too long, that was too wide, that was too high, and was too spongy and soft. Well, he said, I can't cope with this. So when they were having toast and some spread on the toast, they put a kind of a butter substitute thing and some marmalade, very tasty Scottish marmalade, just delicious, just delicious. He said, right, that's great. Yeah, we'll do that. And then Uncle Dan was looking at the container for the margarine, and he said, you know, he was reading the label on it. He said, I can believe this. And wee Tom said, you can believe what? He said, I can believe this is not butter. Look at it. It's the wrong colour. It's the wrong texture. It's the wrong feel. I can believe this is not butter. And it wasn't butter, let me tell you. Anyway, Uncle Dan put this on the toast, put it on wee Tom's toast, cut it into soldiers, and gave wee Tom his toast. And then Uncle Dan started to take all of the margarine substitute that he could believe wasn't butter out of the container, every piece of it. And he put it into a saucer. And then he took that container and washed it and dried it 5 times. 5 is wee Tom's favourite number. He's got 5 names: Thomas, Patrick, James, O'Neill, Thumb. 5. Okay, let's have a look. Uncle Dan said, I think this could be a good bed for you. It's not too long, it's not too wide, and it's not too high. Let's have a go. And he picked wee Tom up and he put him into the tub. And then wee Tom started to slide, and sliding like this. I'm sinking, I'm sinking, I'm sinking, I'm sinking. His right leg was going to the right. His left leg was going to the left. I'm sinking, I'm sinking, I'm sinking. Help me. Uncle Dan rushed over to save wee Tom and picked him up by putting his fingers into his armpits like this and just woofed them up like this. And wee Tom said, oh, Uncle Dan, that's very dangerous. That bed is too slippy. It's too slidey. Uncle Dan said, I'll get some sandpaper and I'll rough it up and I think it'll be okay. Uncle Dan, wee Tom said, reminding of his uncle of the skiing accident story where wee Tom broke his leg. Uncle Dan, the last thing I need is to break my leg again. And the last thing you need is to be looking after me when I can't walk properly. So let's think that we'll use the margarine thing, box, container, whatever that stuff is, that nobody now believes is butter, that is for our breakfast toast. That's it. So Uncle Dan put back into the icebox, or as we say, the fridge, and that was that. And everything was lovely. But wee Tom still didn't have a bed to sleep in. And wee Tom said, Uncle Dan, you got new boots before we came away here. We could use the box for the boots. Uncle Dan said, well, it's not here. It's back at the house in the city. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, even if Was here. It's full of stuff. I've put all my documents in there, my army things, my medals, a few foreign coins, a couple of lucky charms and different souvenirs I've got. My marvelous pen. Uncle Dan's got a pen that can write in invisible ink. That's true. When he writes, you can't see what he's written until you get some special solution to solve the thing. Anyway, it's another story. That box is it's packed full of stuff and it's not here. We need to get something else. So they went out for a walk and there was a lot of things going on. There was a sandcastle competition going on. There was an archery competition going on. There was flower display garden thing going on. There was beach ball. There was football that's actually called football. That's not soccer, but it's actually football. Some people call it soccer. Anyway, that was all going on. And they went into the cafe. Now, as I said to you, wee Tom's favorite color is red, which is why I always wear something red when I'm telling wee Tom stories. In fact, I should show you my red sock right now. Can you see it? There's my red sock. Because I need to have something red when wee Tom loves red. Anyway, with this all going on, they went into the Red Parrot Cafe. And standing outside was the lumpy woman, the waitress in there. She's very chunky and very lovely. Everything about her is chunky. Her body's chunky. Her voice is chunky. Well, big boy, chunky boys. Her jewelry is chunky. Her hair goes up in bunches and like buns, like this goes up. She's got bingo wings here. She's just such a kind person. And she's trying to stop smoking. So she's outside chewing gum and she's just got one big bubble of gum like this that covers her face when she sees Uncle Dan and wee Tom coming. So she popped the bubble gum and she said, because she remembered them from last year, wee Tom's he is the ticket. She said, "Oh boys, great to see you back. Upstairs or downstairs?" "Oh, upstairs," said Uncle Dan immediately. "Well, there's not much space up there, but I'll definitely get you a table. Follow me." So up went the lumpy woman, up went Uncle Dan, and with wee Tom in his pocket like this, and everybody was just delighted they were there. And they were going to get a snack for their mid-morning break and decide what they were going to have. And when they were doing this, Uncle Dan said, yeah, well, we can do this and we can do that. And wee Tom was wandering about the table and he looked out of the window at one side and he saw the archery competition. He saw the ride the ponies. He saw knocking down coconuts. He saw hoopla. He saw all the things that go on at the seaside. Great fun. Everybody was going to have a marvelous time there. And then walking back, he was able to look into the kitchen. And down in the kitchen, he saw the chef making fresh omelettes, two fresh omelettes. One of them was a full omelette with egg whites and egg yellows and all stuff going in it. The other one was a plain egg white omelette with the yolks removed. This is all going on. And then he took a match and he lit the gas to make each of these things individual in separate little pans. And wee Tom was interested in the matchbox. And he said to Uncle Dan, look at that matchbox. It was long enough. It was wide enough. It was high enough. It was really pretty perfect for this wee guy. Pretty good. Yeah. So when the waitress came back with their order, which was a chocolate bar for Uncle Dan, which he snaps and gives a bit to wee Tom, a mug of hot tea, and a little orange juice for wee Tom, Uncle Dan said, could he have the matchbox? And the woman was kind of, absolutely not. No smoking in any cafes in Scotland at any time. Absolutely not. I started smoking when I was young, and I'm sorry I started. And she went on a big, big preach about smoking. And Uncle Dan said, I don't smoke. I have never smoked. I hate smoking. I would like the matchbox. But still, did she listen? Oh, no, she didn't. Did she hear? Oh, no, she didn't. Did she pay attention? Oh, no, she didn't. And then Uncle Dan just had to let her go on about this. And when she was finished, Uncle Dan said, look at my shoes. And the woman looked at the shoes and said, these shoes are on my feet, but I'm not walking. I'm sitting here. I would like the matchbox, an empty matchbox. Please, can I have one? I want to see if it will be a useful bed for wee Tom, only if it's suitable. Nothing to do with cigarettes. So she's very helpful, as I told you. She went downstairs, spoke to the chef, and wee Tom walked right to the edge of the table and saw the chef take two matchboxes and put all of the matches from one box into the other, close the box, and give it over to the lady. She brought it upstairs, and wee Tom was measured. It was long enough. It was wide enough. And wee Tom lay down in it. I said, oh, Uncle Dan, this is the thing. This is just perfect. But it's a bit jaggy. Uncle Dan said, oh, we'll get sandpaper, we'll smooth this all off. Yeah, it's not very comfortable. It's pretty hard. Yeah. We'll put cotton wool inside this. And yeah, I think we'll go with this. So once their snack was finished, they paid the bill. Uncle Dan is a good tipper and thanked the lumpy woman, this marvelous waitress who's just a hero. And off they went back to their holiday house to make the bed up. They got sandpaper and they sanded it all down. And then, very gently, wee Tom was allowed to blow away the skelfs, the splinters, the jaggy pieces of wood inside the matchbox. And then he lay down. Oh, the bed was perfect length, perfect width, perfect height. Oh, Uncle Danny said, this is marvellous, but it's not very comfortable. Do you remember wee Tom's favourite number? Correct. So, with these 5 things in mind, Uncle Dan said we'll have 5 layers of cotton wool. One to be warm. Kira and Georgia, is your microphone on? Can you hear? Can you speak? Oh, I'm not getting your voices, darling. Terry Lott, can you switch on your microphone? Terry, the first layer is to make the bed as warm as possible. What would you like the second layer to make it?
Gee, warm is always my favorite. Second layer to make it cushy.
Cushy. Nice.
I think they've moved up closer to the mic. You can probably hear now.
Cool. Kira? Yeah. Kira and Georgia. First. Georgia, you go first. What would you like the mattress to be? It's going to be warm and cushy. We need 5 adjectives. I don't think their microphone's on, Terry.
I think she said soft.
Soft, good word. Soft. I don't like a hard bed. Natasha, what would you like it to be? With the microphone on?
Well, perhaps silky.
Silky.
Yeah,
Silky. Nice.
very pleasant to touch.
Very pleasant. And Stephen, what would you like the mattress to be? Louis, what would you like? Was
Supportive,
he? Yep.
supportive
Supportive. Cool.
for the back.
Absolutely. King Louis, what would you like the mattress to be?
Light.
Light. Love it. So I'm going to take out warm, and that's that. So we've got 5 layers. And as each layer was put in, Uncle Dan said, it's going to be light. It's going to be cushy. It's going to be soft. It's going to be silky. It's going to support my back when I've been out bending over finding seashells. Oh, Uncle Dan. 5 layers of mattress. Just right. Oh, my head. I banged my head, Uncle Dan. I banged my head. I need a pillow for my head. Uncle Dan said, no problem. Look, he said, I've got one ready. And he gave wee Tom a little tea bag. It was perfect. It was the right size. And wee Tom lay back in this tea bag pillow. Oh, Uncle Dan, this is what? Ugh, yuck, he said. What a smell. Uncle Dan said, this is the finest Indian tea. It's first class. This is drunk by the royal family in Buckingham Palace. This is the swankiest tea you can buy. Orange pekoe. It smells like it. Yuck. 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 Take it away. So Uncle Dan took away the tea bag. But then he got the very, very, 5 very sharp scissors and snipped a little hole in the tea bag and emptied out all the tea. And then, instead of using the scissors to cut, he used the scissors to pick up the cotton wool and stuff it inside, stuff it inside, stuff it inside, stuff it inside, stuff it inside the tea bag. It was a perfect pillowcase. It was lovely. And it was filled with the most wonderful, light, cushy, soft, sinky, supportive, firm, smashing tea bag pillow that you can never imagine. Now, when Uncle Dan was in the military, he learned to sew. And he sewed up very carefully this little tea bag. And it was just right. It was perfect. Oh, he said, I'm so happy with this. Try it. And wee Tom snuggled down. Bit chilly, he said. I don't have a cover for my body. Uncle Dan got a little piece of red. Wee Tom's favourite colour is red, as you know. He got a red piece of velvet and made it into a little pouch. And then he stuffed it full of kitchen roll. He got a piece of kitchen paper. It was an extra absorbent one with the double layers and triple ply thing. And he folded it and folded it and folded it and folded it until it was bunched up inside like that. This little red velvet pouch. And then he pulled the drawstring and he tucked it under wee Tom's chin, like this, under his chin like this, and gave that to wee Tom. Uncle Dan said, what do you think of that now? What do you think of the bed now? Wee Tom said nothing. This has been quite a lot of work. I'm asking, what do you think of the bed now? No reply. 3 times. 4. Wee Tom's favourite number? 5 times Uncle Dan asked. And then Uncle Dan looked down and saw Wee Tom's tum go. And they heard this noise. And Wee Tom was fast asleep. And you know, Wee Tom had a dream. And if you ask me another time when we meet online or in person, Michael, the storyteller from Glasgow in Scotland, what exactly was the dream that Wee Tom had when Uncle Dan made him the bed when they went on holiday to the seaside? What did you dream about? And I might tell you, but that's another story for another time. That's the end of Wee Tom and the new bed. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, a riddle for the children. What goes up and never goes down?
Your age.
Oh, brainy children! Your age. Who said that?
Georgia. We did it in school. We always tell riddles and jokes and that. And that was one of them. It was like, what goes up and never comes down? Your age.
You did that in school.
Yeah. We do jokes
Okay.
and riddles in the day.
What? If I throw this pen, you can catch it. If I throw this book, you can catch it. What could I? What can you catch but I can't throw?
Oh.
You can catch a pen because I can throw one. You can catch a book because I can throw one. But what can't I throw that you can catch?
Cold.
Again?
Cold.
Cold. Was that you, Louis? Bravo! You can catch a cold, but you can't throw a cold.
Oh, yeah. You can catch a cold, but you can't throw one. Well, you can technically throw it, but that's a bug.
So this is about what starts with the letter P and ends with the letter E, and inside it there are sometimes millions, but always thousands of letters.
An envelope. Is it an envelope?
Starts with the letter P.
Postbox.
Almost.
Post. Oh.
Where you go to buy stamps.
Oh. Postman. Post.
Post.
Post office.
Post office.
Literally.
Well done.
I wasn't going to tell.
Last time my teacher did one similar to that. It says what starts with letter E and ends with letter E, and inside has one letter.
Clever.
And an envelope has one letter, and sometimes it can have more than one. You just need like a big envelope. You can put a few letters.
That's pretty smart. Quite a good teacher you've got there.
He's actually from Dundee.
Your teacher's from Dundee.
Yeah, my teacher.
What country are you in now?
Tidworth, we're in England.
You're back in England.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Good. So should we have time for another story?
I think dinner's almost ready.
Yeah, what time is it?
Another wee Tom story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Natasha, do you have the wee Tom book?
We do. We have some Wheaton books.
No, unfortunately, I've got them at my job.
You've got them in school.
Yeah.
We have some downstairs in the house.
Oh.
Some Wheaton books.
Briskly. I want to show one to Terry. Is your mummy there?
She's downstairs. I can go grab her if you want.
Yeah.
Grab her, ask her, just see, Michael said, would you be kind enough to bring a book?
Okay. A Wheaton book. Just one.
Yeah. Not the new bed one though, because that's when we just.
Mum.
Stephen, I want to do a screenshot. Do you mind putting on your camera for just a minute?
Got it. It's and the bank robbers.
Cool. That's sweet. So can you hold it? Let me pin you. Hold on. That's Wee Tom and the Bank Robbers. And in these books, you never see the uncle. You just see Wee Tom and his uncle helping.
Blab, like that.
Oh, yeah. Can you open it up so that Terry can see the whole thing? So the book cover, front and back, is the same thing. It's the same picture. Thanks for that, girls.
Let me just check there's no face. That's Wee Tom's face.
Right, I'm going to just take a wee screenshot.
What? Wait, let me just.
Yeah, we do. Well, we'll take it for the screenshot. Why not? Product placement. Never a bad idea.
Like a bit like this picture. It has just half the ear.
That's it. Hold on, I'll pin it. There you go. I'll send these to your mummy.
Okay.
Right, let's go on. We're going to run out of time. So, while they were on holiday, like I mentioned to you, there was a sandcastle competition going on. And it was Uncle Dan's idea that they should enter it. But the forum was quite complicated and they had to do all kinds. They had to pay £5, Wee Tom's favourite number. They had to pay £5 to enter. And then they had to use, they weren't allowed to buy anything to decorate the sandcastles. They had to find debris and things on the beach, shells, sweetie wrappers, candy papers, all this kind of stuff, anything that was lying about to make the place look, to make the design of the castles good and at the same time help clean up the beach and the ocean. That was the plan. So Uncle Dan said, okay, let's have a look at where we're going to go. And they found huge pieces of piping, drained piping like this, maybe been washed away from a house in some terrible tornado or hurricane or something like this. They found all kinds of stuff. And Uncle Dan said, well, we're allowed to bring buckets and spades, we'll bring them. And they built a 5-sided, like the Pentagon, a 5-sided castle. And then on each side, they used the buckets to build turrets. And then they found yogurt cartons and they made little turrets on top of the turrets and then tiny yogurt cartons on top of that. And then they found one little container for ketchup that you get in when you buy a hamburger, plastic, and that was just lying in the beach. So they had the big one, the wee one, the tinier one, and the tiny one all around the castle. 5 lots, each of the places. And then while they were busy getting things organized with the piping and everything, Uncle Dan said, I think we're going to put the piping down here, half the top off, and we'll have a real moat. And because it's got plastic cups like this in it, we'll use that and the water won't drain away and we'll have an actual moat. They got the popsicle sticks for ice lemon, and they made a little bridge. They made a little portcullis, and then started to weave them in and out and in and out and in and out. until they had a nice design for the castle drawbridge thing and everything, the portcullis gate. And then Uncle Dan found a piece of orange netting. It was tiny, tiny, tiny. And me, Tom said, "What? That's not for catching fish. It's far too small, even for a wee boy like me. I'm only the size of a thumb. That can't work." What? Wait, what? You can't catch any fish with that. Uncle Dan said, "That's not fishing stuff. That's somebody's bought a net of oranges or tangerines or something like this, and then they didn't put it in the bin. They've just thrown it on the beach, and we're going to rescue it, and we're going to use it as part of the net around our portcullis. So we will wind it onto some stick, and then we can wind it up and wind it down, wind it up." And just when Uncle Dan was explaining this, a voice came across. "Attention, attention. The judging committee will begin judging in 2 hours' time. 2 hours till the end of the building of the sandcastle competition." Wee Tom got a fright. He said, "Uncle Dan, I didn't know it was a race against time. We've got to do this against the clock." Uncle Dan said, "No time for talking. Get building. Build a little door here, right across from this wooden bridge that's got all the fancy sticks. I'm going to get water." Uncle Dan ran down to the water and got buckets of the water and poured it into the pipe that went all the way around the 5 sides. And not much of it drained away. And they were the only people on the beach that had water in their moat when the judging came. And wee Tom was looking in the water. "Did you catch any fish? Did you catch any crabs? Did you catch a seahorse? Did you catch any shrimps? Did you catch anything? Eels? Did you catch a baby lobster?" "It's just water. I just scooped up what was there. There's nothing in it. It's fine. Just leave it like that." And then they found some bags for potato chips, and they tore them up and made them into little silver flags that they put on each of the 5 turrets. "Judging will begin in 1 hour." We better get to move on. This is going to go quicker than you can think. They got shells and they put them around the place. All kinds of shells, clam shells, scallop shells, mussel shells, razor shells, periwinkles, beautiful shells, sparkling shells. Some of them are quite dull, limpets, and they made them into a little pathway up to the bridge. It was really looking rather splendid. And Uncle Dan had to look at this. Uncle Dan had to look at how it was all going, and it was really going well. Hi, John. It was really going very, very well. But then Uncle Dan said, "Do you know what? We have to make sure that we are here for the judging, because if we're not here for the judging, we could be disqualified. The rules are very, very strict about this competition. Just you stay here." And Uncle Dan made a little sentry box for wee Tom on one side of the sandcastle, on the other side of the sandcastle, and in the middle was the portcullis gate with the orange netting and the up and down portcullis. It really did work, and it really looked well, and there was shiny things and there was sparkly things, and nothing was there that had been bought. Everything had been found and gathered up as natural stuff like the shells and seaweed and the water, and recovered debris and broken things and rubbish litter like the piping, like the ice lolly sticks, like the sweetie wrappers, like the potato chips bags, all this kind of stuff. Everything was there. "Judging will begin in 5 minutes." And just then a Rolls Royce came up, right up to the very front of the pier head there. And the chauffeur got out and opened the door, and out came the mayor and the mayor's wife. And she was so posh. She had a fur coat Now, nobody in any story has ever worn a fur coat to the beach. She wore a fur coat. And she had a tiny, tiny little dog, a real one, a tiny, tiny little dog on an impossibly long lead. And she was like, oh, my Pongo, Pongo, oh, Pongo, Pongo, like this. And little Pongo, the dog, couldn't walk in the sand because it only had wee tiny legs. And wee Tom thought, I would like to sit on that wee dog and pretend it's a horse. But he didn't. The building of the competition sandcastles are complete. Please put down all building utensils. Building has stopped. Judging has commenced. And they went round the Lady Mayor, the mayor with golden chains and all this stuff, and a whole load of people with notepads writing down scores and where did you get this? Did you buy this? And all this kind of stuff. And then they came to Uncle Dan and wee Tom. And they looked at the entry form. Uncle Dan was first name. Wee Tom was the second name. Disqualified, said the Lady Mayor. What? Why are we disqualified? Nothing here has been bought. Everything we have found on the beach. And she said, there are two names on this forum, Uncle Dan and wee Tom, and there is only one person here. Where is wee Tom? Who is wee Tom? And Uncle Dan said, well, he's my nephew. He's a hero. He's a great, he's here. Wee Tom, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And he wasn't anywhere to be seen until he jumped out of the sentry box and said, President correct, sir. President correct, my Lady Mayor. And he saluted and he bowed. And they gave them top marks. And do you know that they were the only people to get all the scores across the board, having water in the moat, having working things, having flags that fluttered. Nothing had been bought. Lots of stuff had been recycled. Lots of it will be put back into the ocean. It's absolutely marvellous. And they won the first prize of £50. And if you want to know, and John Rowe's dying to know, if you want to know what they did with the 50 quid, just ask me. But that's another story for another day. That's the end of Wee Tom at the Sandcastle competition. Lovely to see you, John.
That was fantastic. I'm terribly sorry. I got stuck in traffic. I've had one of those days. I should get a word in edgeways at the moment.
Oh, good.
But I will be there in the morning.
Good.
For my set, but my van had problems. But it is lovely to see everyone. Lovely to see you, Miss Louis. King, sir, Mr. President King, Louis.
Cute, sir, Mr. President King Louis.
Oh, so I missed the cute out. Cute, sir, Mr. President King Louis, Lindsay Timmon. And everyone else, and Kara and Georgia and Natasha, and of course Terry. And
so Stephen's from Scotland, a pal of mine, and Natasha is one of my teachers from my Russia projects in Perm, in the edges of Siberia, in the Ural Mountains, far away.
Yes, a place of legend. So
Natasha's a teacher of English.
Well, excellent. And of course, Waleed in the cafe, who is going to hate me for my next announcement, because at 10 o'clock in the morning, we are coming live from Get a Word in Edgeways. And from midday to 1 is open mic, where anyone can come and tell a story.
Marvelous.
And Despina is hosting that. And so that's Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning. We'll see you there, Waleed. And because it takes Wally 3 hours to get to the cafe, so he's going to have to start when it's dark.
Yeah, sure.
It takes him a while, because he lives a bit far out. But anyway, and then what's next Friday? Next Friday is Maria Gillan.
Oh,
So-
she's fun.
So she'll be a lot of fun. So, but thank you. Can we have a round of applause for Michael?
Oh, I'm 72 and my ears are 82. You need to be louder than that.
Yes, well, could we have a loud round of applause for Michael? Because us ancients require our egos massaging
Massage.
with monotonous regularity.
Absolutely. No, I love this week. I love this wee group, John. I don't do much online, as you know, but this is
It's a
smacking.
lovely group. It's a lovely group, this one.
And it's
a lovely
because
group.
I've been in the World Storytelling Cafe in Morocco that I really get the point of it. It's really terrific.
Yeah, it's got a sort of holistic feel to it, isn't there? There's sort of live and in the cafe, and in the festival it's going to be a bit like that. I'm going out to Morocco next Tuesday,
Lovely.
and I should be there Tuesday, and then I'm going up to the Ouzud waterfall, which is 150 kilometers, for a festival there,
Marvelous.
where they've had to haul all the equipment up by donkey.
Including you.
Well, no, I shall have to walk, but they have promised me accommodation at the top, so I don't have to walk up every morning.
Oh, good.
Well,
But you're not going to walk
meanwhile,
150. You're not going to walk 150 kilometers.
no, I shall go by taxi.
Oh, right, that's fine.
Well, I shall share a taxi with several other persons, and then but it's quite a long way up the hill to the falls.
Cool. I'm trying to get my tickets organized for January. It's so complicated to get from Scotland there. There are direct flights, but they don't tie in exactly with the dates. So I'll maybe speak to you on that on Monday before
Well,
you go to.
just put a day either side or something, and
Yeah,
we'll
I'll do
explain.
that. Is it okay to do
We'll
that?
explain. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I'll
Well,
explain.
I'll
I'll
book my
explain
tickets
to
in the
Mike
morning.
the problem, and we're thinking of getting a hostel quite near the centre, so we can put loads of storytellers in together.
Mhm.
If there's enough people want to be in, or rather than be by themselves in a riad. But some people like to just go and chill in a riad.
Well, I have to tell you, I felt like I had won some kind of lottery the last time in that riad. But I was also in there with lovely people. I was in with Rona and a fabulous guy from Tunisia, and we spoke French.
Hitchim.
Hershem,
Hitchim.
Rona. That was great, really. That was lovely. But I'll tell you what I get. It's fine.
Yeah, well, but don't worry. Just get your flights as near as possible.
Right, that's what I'll
But
do.
if it's a day after, if it's a day before and a day after,
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll work that out.
Sure. Anyway, Terry, don't go spending $31 with Amazon for that. I'll come over to Ohio and break your legs if you do. Email me and I'll get you a much better deal.
Okay, and with that,
Thank
I'm
you.
going to relax. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to just see if my partner's car works, because
I'm going to my son's birthday party. My son's also a storyteller. He's 13. He'll be 39 on Sunday. But he shares that with my grandson, not his son, his nephew. So we've got a weekend of birthdays.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, have a fine weekend, everyone, and we'll see you we'll see you, some of you, Saturday. No, not Saturday. Sunday, 10 o'clock, UK time, and if not, back here next Friday at 6 o'clock for Maria Gillan. Meanwhile,
Smashing.
have a wonderful time, everyone.
Thank you, John. Thank you for coming in late. Bye-bye. That was lovely.
Bye-bye.
Good to see
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mum to take it off.
Kira and Georgia, did you know it's Uncle Dominic's birthday
No.
on Sunday?
Okay.
So make
Class
sure you